Hello students, in the previous videos we discussed about a very important medium of storytelling, that is comics and graphic novels, and today we are going to talk about mood and tone in this medium of storytelling. So let me ask you a simple question. Do you remember the mood and tone of a literary piece? What do you think about these two terms? So let me help you recall the definition. So if we talk about the mood is the overall feeling or atmosphere that is created after reading a certain story. And yes, mood pertains to the mood of the reader. This is very important point to be noted. And now when we talk about the tone is the writer's attitude towards the subject and the audience. So tone refers to the tone that is being adopted by the author, and mood refers to the mood of the reader. Now, when we have discussed mood and tone, let's now discuss how these two things are depicted in comics and graphic novels. And there are certain visual storytelling techniques, and we are going to discuss those today. First of all, we have the color palette, second, panel size, third, layout, fourth, line work, fifth, perspective, sixth, characters, expressions and body language, and last but not the least, lettering. So let's talk about the first technique that helps us to evoke mood and tone in a comic or a graphic novel, and that is color palette. Yes, color palettes actually set the mood and also evoke emotions. And how does this happen? With the use of different shades of colors. Different colors symbolize different traits. For example, darker tones, they depict mystery, and lighter tones, they depict warmth in a scene or maybe in the character. And also, these colors are used by creators to shape perception of the entire scene as well as characters. For example, darker shades, they suggest secrecy, and lighter colors, they convey approachability. As you can see in the visual given below, the picture of Thanos has got darker tones, whereas Iron Man has somewhat lighter tones in comparison to Thanos. Now let's talk about the second technique, that is the panel size. Panel size can actually influence the pacing of a story. And how? If we look at these panels, larger panels, they provide detail and also slow down the pace of the story. On the other hand, smaller panels, they create urgency and also fast transitions of the scene. If we talk about the panel size, they also indicate pace. How? Larger panels, they actually slow down the pace with more details and more actions of the creators. On the other hand, smaller panels, they speed up the pace with fewer details and actions. Now let's talk about the panel size, how it can be used to emphasize the key moments in a story. Let's have a look at the example. A large full-page panel, or as it is called a splash page, might highlight a pivotal moment such as a dramatic reveal or a climatic battle, indicating its importance. So now let's talk about the third technique, that is the layout. The arrangement and size of the panels can actually reflect the emotional tone of a story, and let me show you this with the help of an example. For example, irregularly shaped or overlapping panels can create a sense of chaos or confusion, suitable for action scenes or moments of high tension. Now students, let's talk about another important visual storytelling technique, that is line work. The style of lines can actually convey energy and also movement within a certain scene. For example, if there are lines that are going far away and becoming thinner, on the other hand, the lines at the closer scene are thicker, they also convey certain emotions and also evoke the mood amongst the readers. They also have a certain purpose. Now let's have a look at the example. For example, we have bold dynamic lines in the first visual with sharp angles and heavy strokes. They actually convey more action, intensity, and also a certain kind of chaos. On the other hand, if we look at the second visual, it is very calm, very soothing. How? Because of the artwork of the lines. The softer flowing lines, they indicate calmness, fluidity, and harmony in the entire scene. So line work is equally important to create mood and tone in a comic or a graphic novel. Now let's talk about perspective. Perspective highlights the power dynamics and also the relationships between various characters. For example, in the first visual, high angle, it makes the character look more weak and vulnerable. On the other hand, in the second visual, low angle makes the character look more powerful and more heroic. Perspective actually shapes the entire atmosphere of the story. Wider views, they suggest freedom, serenity. On the other hand, tight frames, they create tension and even isolation. For example, this comic panel portrays two characters sitting on a rooftop overlooking a busy futuristic city. One looks down, troubled, while the other leans in, offering support. The scene represents personal struggles in a vast, fast-moving world. And if we talk about the perspective, this character is shown in higher angle, hence it appears weak and vulnerable. Now let's talk about character expressions and body language and how do these two help us in illustrating the mood and tone in a comic or a graphic novel. Actually, expressions of the characters and also the body language, they actually set the mood of the entire comics. So let's have a look at the example now. Calm expressions of the characters, they actually create tranquility. Tense gestures, on the other hand, suggest urgency or even dramatic moments. Contradictory expressions and dialogue add irony, humor, or suspense. Visual and text interplay enhances the narrative depth. So now let's talk about the last visual storytelling technique that helps in creating the mood and tone in a comic as well as a graphic novel, and that is lettering. Lettering actually affects intensity. How? Bold, capitalized text shows shouting and even urgency. On the other hand, small, lighter fonts, they suggest whispers or even calmness. Now let's have a look at the example. We can see in this visual, the word boom is written in such a large font that actually creates intensity in this particular scene and also enhances the mood of the entire comic. Students, as we know that in traditional medium of storytelling, be it stories, novels, poems or plays, there are different ways of illustrating the mood and tone of a story, and that is with the help of words, imagery and descriptive language. On the other hand, as we have discussed today, in comics and graphic novels, there are certain visual storytelling techniques that actually create mood and also enhance the tone of the comics. So keeping all these points in mind, you have this task to be done, and this is that you have to read the graphic novel X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills, and you have to note the shifts in the mood and tone in the entire story. Second important question, you have to make a note of the techniques that we have used today in the graphic novel to indicate the mood and tone in this particular novel. I hope students, you are going to enjoy in finding out these techniques, and we'll discuss this graphic novel in the coming session. Till then, happy learning. Have a great day.